1959, for those of you who don't know the history of Horry County, in 1959 or so, there was a senator from Lower South Carolina named James Stevens. And he had an issue with the sheriff at that time. I can't tell you what the issue was. Believe it or not, I wasn't born yet. But for some reason, there was a political issue between the two. The senator decided that he would go to Columbia because he couldn't get along with the sheriff, and he would figure out a way to prevent the sheriff from doing duty. So he went and he got Act 59 passed in the General Assembly. And what that did is that gave the county government full autonomy over policing matters. What that also did was it gave them the ability to limit and tell the sheriff of what his legal responsibilities were going to be from county government. Now, over the years, this has been tested several times in the court, and the courts determined that they had the autonomy under Act 59 to self-legislate. So they get to tell how they want the police department to run, how they want the budget spent. They get to do all that stuff. But this is different, because what this does is it takes a step back in time, and it says what we want to do is we want to repeal Act 59, which takes away the autonomy of county council dictating to the sheriff, who is your constitutional officer in this state, the ability to police. And currently, right now, he does not have that ability because of Act 59 and how the Horry County Council has decided his function would be in this county. That's all it does. For some of you who don't know the history of this, there was actually a police commission, and I want to say it was sometime around 1972. And when James Stevens said, "Okay, we're going to have the county police, but to keep the public aspect into it, we're going to have a commission of citizens kind of step in and take the role of what council is currently doing, but have the public, and this police department will answer to the public, and that will give you a public protection by having a police commission." Around 1972, county council decided, we don't need the police commission. So they eliminated the police commission. So now that was challenged in court, and what the judge came back and said was Act 59 gave them autonomy to make those decisions, so therefore they had a legal frame of being able to handle that, so they did that. Again, all this bill does is it takes Act 59 and says, we're no longer going to do that. We're going to allow the sheriff to be a sheriff. If you elect the sheriff, and you've got faith in the sheriff, he's a constitutional officer. He controls his budget. He controls what function he's going to do as far as law enforcement. This is not an issue of Horry County Police Department or the Sheriff's Department. It is not an issue of whether they're doing a good job or a bad job. This is about whether or not they're getting proper leadership in their budgeting and those things, because I think, and this is just my opinion, that a strong sheriff could argue a budget and get what he needed or she needed for the police department or for law enforcement better than someone who is eventually have to answer to a council. We all know that. I mean, the council's got so many different obligations. They've got so many different things that they're trying to make work at the end of the day. And I don't see how that can be done if, as important as law enforcement is today, they should have as much support and as much budgetary ability as we can give them. And I don't think that right now that's happening the way it needs to happen. And I think repealing 59 would give us the ability to put someone strong enough to take on these issues, to go to the public and say, hey, I need funding, I need this, I need your support, because this is what we have to do to make our... That person would have the ability to stand up to any elected official in Horry County and say, no, this is what we're going to do because it's the right thing to do for law enforcement. Currently, I don't think that we have that ability. Now, I may be wrong, and I agree they do the best job that they can with what they've got. But currently, I think we are competing for resources that I don't think the police department should have to compete for. And that's why I initiated the repeal of Act 59. Now, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different theories of why I did whatever. I've heard it all. I had one person say that I was looking for somebody from New Jersey to be the sheriff. I have no clue who they could be talking about and don't care who the sheriff is. I would hope that if it went to a sheriff's department, that this young man here would be interested because he's young enough, he's got the knowledge, he's got all the stuff that you need. But I have no clue who it would be. It would be a people's choice thing. Now, at the end of the day, and this is how these bills come about, you get about 3,000 bills come through the General Assembly. This was a bill to address an issue. And in that issue, it goes before a committee. And when you have a committee meeting, you get the opportunity to sit back and say, okay, we need to hear from the Horry County Police Department. We need to hear from the Sheriff's Department. We need to hear from these young ladies. We need to hear from the media. And you have all this opportunity to come in, and you have a delegation sitting there to take information and testimony. And at the end of the day, hopefully, you get enough input to decide what the proper thing for Horry County to do is, whether it's the Horry County Police Department, whether it's the Sheriff's Department, or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have people's input, and you hear everybody's side of it, and you're able to make that decision for the betterment of the community and for Horry County. That goes through the committee process. Until it goes through the committee process, it can't do anything. And then once it gets through a committee process at the delegation level, then it has to go to the House floor, and there's 124 guys there. Now, it's probably, if it makes it that far, and I'm assuming, but I'm going to do that dangerous thing that we all know we shouldn't do, is something like this would probably have a lot of support in the General Assembly. And the reason being is because you have 46 counties in South Carolina. 45 already do that. Charleston, or do you know the other county that's doing other than Charleston? I know there's three counties. Greenville and Charleston have already converted over. Now, I don't know why. I don't know if it got into politics. I don't know. But I know that Horry County is the last county in the state that currently is operating under the system that we have. And I've heard a lot of things about, well, this is not going to work, and that's Charleston and Greenville figured out a way to do it, and every other county. So, I mean, can't be that hard. But again, after getting testimony and after hearing everyone's side of it, there may be legitimate reasons why Horry County is doing it better than everybody else. But we haven't heard that as a committee. And the committee should hear that, they should take testimony, and then we should give our input about, okay, here's what we heard, we're independent, and here's what we think. But it's a process. And when you lay a bill down, and it gets attention, and people start making bills, this is against the Horry County Police Department. I heard there was people going to lose their jobs. I'm like, I believe you're going to end up having to hire more people, not less. So I just don't know where that kind of information comes from. I do know that currently our county is growing leaps and bounds. I don't know whether we provide the service and we can legitimize it by saying, yes, the county police is the system we need to use, or whether the sheriff's department. I can tell you that Richland County, and I know Charleston at one time, they had some cat daddy departments. I mean, they were the cat daddy. I just want law enforcement to be able to do as much as they can with the training that they have without having it restricted from someone who is not law enforcement. And I think that there's a danger to that, but I also have confidence that the people of Horry County can hold that person accountable if they can go to the ballot and do that. So, y'all got any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Have you met with county council, or will you be meeting with them in the future?
I talked to county council a couple of days ago, and I think that right now they don't see a problem. So, I mean, that's their opinion. So, okay. If I had to guess right now, they fully support their program. But if they can't wholeheartedly, with everything they got, support law enforcement right now with what we're seeing in this country, then I don't know if they're supporting them or not. I hope they are, and they say they are, but I don't know. I mean, it could be better, but we could all do better.
So actually, Horry County Police has been structured this way since 1959. All of each year.
And it happened in Columbia because a sheriff and a senator didn't like each other. It wasn't a vote.
Right.
Many years later, and this is why I'm looking at repeal it, I'm trying to repeal, if that's what we all decide needs to be done. The reason I want to do a repeal instead of trying to, you can do it now through a referendum. They did that, I don't know, was it 20 years ago they had a referendum?
It was, one went to referendum and then one never made it.
It was the worst thing I ever seen because our police departments, our sheriff's department, and our county police officers were in survival mode, and it put them in a struggle that they should not have been in. I would rather not do anything than to do that. They should not, it should not be their fault. And they should not be in the middle of a fight to try to think that they have to save their job. Because that's not the case. There should be more hired, and everyone should transition over. It's one department absorbing another if it was to work that way. And again, it might not work that way, but if it did, I don't see any loss of position. But you know, and this is my opinion, and I do understand the committee process, and I'm looking forward to, if I can get the chairman to do it, having a committee meeting and letting the county chief here and some of the council members come in and say, you know, here's what we got, here's where we're going, and we think we can be successful if we follow this path. That may be the case, but I think there's a process that we all need to hear to get there. And I mean, like I say, it's not about anybody not doing a good job. It's not about the sheriff's department's not doing a good job. It's not about the county police. It's not any particular case. It's about the top structure, and can that person get what they need from county government?
So basically, as it sits now in the county has a separate budget for the sheriff and a separate budget for the county police department. So if you put those two budgets together, you probably...
I've been a police chief,
Yes.
and I was in the police chief in North Horry Beach. So I got a little bit of experience with what I went through. And when a police chief goes before a council and says, I need X to help my people out, I need my salaries here. And if council looks at the manager and says, that ain't happening, we do this, and we'll get you in 4 years, then typically, you ain't got a lot to say so except say, okay, we'll do better in a few years. If you do that to a strong sheriff, you're probably going to get politicked against. And that's the difference.
Explain that, politics against. Okay?
What?
Whose job's on the line if
County council, if you had a strong sheriff that didn't get what he wanted,
he would run against county council?
no, he would actually say, they're not giving me what I need, I would think. And this is all just my opinion, but I would think that they would say, hey, they're not supporting police, so therefore we need people who support police. And that's just what my opinion is. But I can tell you that that's the kind of thing I saw in local government in North Horry Beach. I mean, you might think you need that, but you don't need it until city manager says, council says you can have it. And that's not saying I didn't get support in North Horry Beach. I'm just telling you that that's the rules of government.
Well, in my opinion, I would like to see law enforcement under a sheriff who I believe has law enforcement background and report to a sheriff, not county council. I don't believe anybody on county council has law enforcement background.
And you're right, but these gentlemen are well qualified. I've worked with Brandon
Oh, I
forever.
believe they are. I'm not saying they're not.
But-
I'm talking about who they should be reporting to.
And they do have a public safety director that they report to. And they do have a county administrator that they
Yes.
report to. But both of those offices pack up and go see the county council. And they have 12 individuals who have to support what they're doing.
Right.
And I've seen that work too. There's separation, but there's not. So, I mean, you know as well as I do, if the right phone call's made, we're going to get a shakeup.
So the way the commission is, the board of commissioners is created though, here, is there are no civilians other than appointed civilians by the county council. So the public doesn't have any
Well, I
real
mean,
input.
so you're talking about in 1972 when there was a commission established, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I couldn't tell you how that was formulated. I've heard some rumors that the delegation appointed them. I've heard some, that way everybody had input from different sections of the county. I don't know how that was appointed. I'd have to do my research, but I could only assume that there's some rhyme or reason the way they do it to make sure everybody's represented. And whether that was a good idea or not, I don't know that the county didn't get involved in that and say it's a waste of time, we don't need that in the mix. Who knows? But I know they eliminated it, and that was your one thing that stood between county council and the police department.
When Act 59 took place, and burned South Carolina's Constitution, how on earth did that happen? I just can't fathom how that can happen.
Well, again, I wasn't born in 1959, but I can tell you that there were certain senators that were in Horry County that had tremendous power, and they got what they wanted. And I can imagine in 1959, who knows why he was mad at the sheriff. But I know in 1960, when my dad was on the Horry County Police Department, he answered calls from Crescent Beach, South Carolina, in Garden City. And that's how wide of a range your officers were covering in territory. So we've had a lot of change and a lot of progress, and they've done a great job of bringing Horry County to the proper century. Where do we go from here?
Hopefully away from political beliefs, because I look at the news all the time. I see Chicago, New York. I see all these politicians that own police.
Yeah.
And they all use them
I don't know.
to do things they shouldn't do.
I don't know that I think, for me, because I'm from that background, I have a criminal justice degree, I have a business law degree, I have a management master's, I'm a graduate of the FBI Academy, I'm on the judiciary, I serve on a national think tank for law enforcement. I got a little bit of history, and I just don't see the political as much of that as you're talking about. What I see is I see a department in the fastest growing county in the state struggling to keep up with what's going on around it. And that concerns me. And I may be wrong. They may say, hey, we got everything we need in a box of crackers, but I promise you, I don't see it. That's not my theory on it. They need every single thing they can get to help out Horry County.
Have you spoken to the sheriff in Horry County regarding this bill?
I told Sheriff that it was coming, and I told him the same thing that I just told y'all about. I told Sheriff Thompson, I said, Sheriff Thompson, I am going to drop a bill that does not require a referendum. I understand that most people would want to see a referendum and let the people choose, but I told him I do not want to do that, and I will not do that. Somebody else might, but I will not do it. For the mere fact is I don't want my law enforcement competing against each other. It is something where they depend on each other, and I do not want them fighting. I'd rather not even do anything than have them fight.
I know Governor, a candidate for Governor, Ralph Norman, supports this measure. Do you know if any other governors support this measure?
I don't, but once again, when you've got 46 counties in the state and one's doing it different, then you got to ask, okay, what are we doing special that qualifies us to continue doing it this way? And that's the question, is what? And there may be 100 answers of why, but we still need to know why we're doing it differently than every other county in the state. And I know these guys could probably tell you, there are times when, and I give an example, and I say that President Trump comes to the area and there's a security detail done, or celebrity comes to town. The first call they do is they pick up the phone and call the sheriff's department. The next call is the sheriff calls the Horry County Police Department and says, hey, I got this call, you're it. But the perception is that a sheriff's department leads law enforcement in Horry County, and they do not. And there's probably, and I'm guessing or assuming again, but I think there's probably a desire to figure out a way to get it closer to all the counties are the same, at least from the state level.
Questions after?
Sure.
Perfect, thank you.
I'd first like to thank Mr. Bailey for what he does at the state level for law enforcement. He gets us a lot of funding for VEST, SROs, just recently, so I appreciate that, sir. But yeah, if we're speaking about the bill and you're asking my opinion is I don't agree with it. There's several reasons for it. Yes, we are the last one in the state of South Carolina. There were previous, but every state that touches us has a county police. Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and they have several. So if you look at it, and there's reasons why. They have large land mass and large population. Well, Mr. Representative Bailey talked about it. What do we have? Large land mass and large population, right? We're the largest county east of the Mississippi. So the reason we have a county police too is we provide a ton more services than most sheriff's offices do. And so speaking in that, when you look at that, yes, we've got a great sheriff now, wonderful sheriff. But we don't know in 4 years, who that may be, and that could change every 4 years. Next sheriff could come in and say, I don't want to provide those services. Horry County, if you want to provide those services, that's your opinion. You'll have to fund it. So yeah, it could cost us extra money, a lot extra money, because those services can't just go away, right? Our citizens rely on that. So what I'll get at is, going further into that, we're almost 70 years old, the Horry County Police Department. We're getting there. There's a long culture, a history of the Horry County Police Department. Are we perfect? No. No agency is, and if you find one, let me know where it's at. I'd love to see it. But I will tell you, we lead the state, and I feel that way, and it's not just because I'm the chief. I've been around this state. I've seen other agencies, what they do, and in my opinion, we're one of the best. Do we get it right every time? No, but I don't see anybody get it right every time. But we try our best. Our folks are highly trained. My background, if you don't know it, I've been here 23 years, so I've seen county government work. To some of the questions that kind of went through there a little bit, I will say our form of government, the way we work, and again, other counties, other states have this, is I'm held almost more accountable than a sheriff. I have 12 elected officials that are a part of the community. They are a part of your community. So when you have issues and you have things that you need, that information is communicated down to me through a chain of command, just like the police department. They call us and we provide those services, whereas a sheriff is accountable every 4 years. Tomorrow, if I'm doing something wrong or, something that council or the community doesn't agree with, my job is appointed. I can be removed. A sheriff, if you get a sheriff in there that you don't agree with or does something wrong that you don't like, well, unless he does something illegal, you got it for 4 years. Again, the sheriff now, I love him. We're great friends. I've known him almost my whole life. I don't see any issues there. But looking at and going forward, I feel like our government works. We provide great service. Our council is more than providing for the police department. Within the last 2 years, I've received over almost 70 positions for the police department, which is huge. Mr. Bailey can tell you there's been years in the past where, years ago when I first started, if you got 4 or 5 officers, that was great. So 70 is unheard of, but we're trying to keep up with the growth of the community. When I came to the agency, there's so many things. We have a full-time SWAT team. We're one of the only ones in the state that have a full-time SWAT team to provide services to our community because it is so large and so busy. We have so many folks here. Charlotte Mecklenburg in North Carolina doesn't even have a full-time SWAT team. So that puts in perspective what services you have. We have, all kind of things that council has supported through what's called our capital improvement plan, where I've asked for these things. I've asked for bomb vehicles, SWAT vehicles, negotiation vehicles. And we should be proud as a community, we have those things, where a lot of folks don't, and we support our local agencies with that stuff. So our community is served, I will tell you that, and I'm proud of the Horry County Police Department, proud of the men and women that work here. I'm proud of our sheriff's office. We got a great sheriff's office. But it does put, and not to go against Mr. Bailey at all, but he's right. Years ago when the referendum happened, it was terrible. I was not here then. That was prior to me, but I talked to the sheriff about it a lot, and it was terrible, putting the agencies against each other. Unfortunately, we've put them under stress now again. With the filing of the bill, I hear it every day. Everybody's worried about consolidation. What's going to happen? Even the deputies are worried about it because it affects us. It affects our lives. We are members of this community. So it does affect us. But we're going to work through it and continue to do, and we serve at the pleasure of the community. I love this community. I've been here since I was a little boy, so this is home. But I hope I addressed everything, but if you got questions.
I got a question.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right, so first of all, I'm going to help you out.
Okay. I love all the help I can get.
You're going to get a bunch right now. We all like to say that we're the largest county east of the Mississippi. That is not true.
Well, we're larger than the state of Rhode Island. Sorry.
No, there's a county in Maine that's larger. So when you make that statement, because
I'll
I've
get
done
it right
it for
next
years,
time.
I've done it for years, but you're not the largest east of Mississippi.
We're pretty big.
Yeah, but if you're gonna talk about Maine, and I've been to Maine,
Yeah.
it's all forest.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Maybe you have
In
100
comparison.
people. I mean,
But I'll correct it for the next time. I do appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And it's really off topic, but it's just something that is a bug up with me. What can we do, and this is either at the county level, sheriff's level, state level, what can we do about the reckless drivers
So,
in
yeah.
Horry County,
Sure.
in South Carolina?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can't go down 501 without seeing 1 or 2, 3 accidents. 701, 1, 2, 3 accidents. My wife got rear-ended a
Mhm.
year ago
Yeah, I talked to her.
on 701. Took the state police 2 hours to show up. If it wasn't for a Georgetown cop who happened to be going to work that day, we would have no police coverage for over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, I don't think, you know, politics aside, I don't think there's anybody really tackling the road hazards that we have here. I mean, she's been in 3 accidents, I've been in 1, and these are all rear enders.
Yeah. I was rear-ended a couple months ago. I know exactly.
People don't pay attention, or they're flying, or they cut over, or they're on their, I know we have a bill now that's been passed about the cell phone.
Yes, sir.
We have some teeth behind it. But, I mean, what's the perception about it? How are we gonna fix that?
I got an idea, but Mr. Bailey, go ahead.
So a legitimate question. Now I got you straightened out on me.
I appreciate that.
When you made your comparison with the sheriff's department, and what a lot of places don't have, and you're well familiar with Horry County, and Horry County has places like Clarendon County, and places like that, that probably very lucky that they even have patrol cars that aren't 20 years old.
Absolutely.
But if you want to measure apples to apples, then you should be measuring yourself against counties like Greenville, Richland County, Sheriff Lott, Charleston. How would you measure your resources? They're so much better than most. How would you measure your resources against those areas? And if you think that they don't stack up to having your own forensics lab and all that stuff that they have, then would you go to council and support the idea of asking for a penny off of the sales tax or the A-tax or whatever? Go to council and say, look, my department needs these things updated. Even if it takes a penny sales tax, would you stand up to council and ask them for that?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to ask them for anything. You can ask them, all 12 of them, because I do ask for a lot. Our forensic phone lab, I got that up and running. We got all that stuff. So if you're asking me how I think we stack up to other agencies across the state,
Like
as far
Richmond
as,
or Charleston?
okay, those large ones,
They have money.
I'd say we're either equal to or better than, honestly, and the services we have. And I'm not throwing shade on any of those agencies, but in the last at least 5 years, we have come leaps and bounds on what we have as far as personnel, what we have as far as equipment, availability to do certain things. We help so many agencies around the state to take pressure off of SLED because we have our own drug lab, we have our own digital forensics lab. I just got a request this morning to help the city of Georgetown with some digital forensic stuff, so we're helping them. So I always kind of compare us, especially here, it's kind of cliche, but like the big brother of Horry County and the surrounding agencies, because we're there to help them. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them don't have the resources, like you said, like a Clarendon County don't have them. They just don't have the funding. They don't have the support to get these things that we do. And so I feel like, Mr. Bailey, we are definitely leaps and bounds above many. Again, we're not the best. I don't think anybody can stand up and say they're the best, but I think we're pretty darn close. I might be a little biased, but
What's your response time now for a call? Average response?
average response times now is depending on where you're at in the county, but it's around 7 to 8 minutes.
Is that from the time the call's taken or from the time the call's placed?
So it's a little misconstrued because dispatch falls under a different division. We're not over dispatch. So when dispatch receives the call, from the time they dispatch the call is what we count, from the time it's dispatched when we arrive on scene.
What's the time that usually it takes between dispatch and them calling you
I'd
guys?
have to get you that information. Again, that's a whole different division. I'd have to
I'm
get you
told
that.
it's quite lengthy.
Depends on the nature of the call as well. So I do want to back up to your question.
Yeah, I was just
You
gonna
did
ask you.
Sorry. So,
I know I lost some weight, but I didn't.
no, I remember. I got you. So traffic, I want to explain a little bit, and Mr. Bailey touched on it perfectly. Infrastructure here, right? We're catching up because we are one of the largest growing counties in the state, if not the country, in the last 5 years. So he's 100% right. We've got to build up our infrastructure, make it better, and we're working on that through the state partners and our county partners. But what we've done personally from the county police, I can attest to. Now, the highway patrol, that's a state agency. I can't answer those questions.
But there's more of you than that.
No.
In this county?
In this county, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what they told us the night of her accident? There's only 2 troopers in all of Horry County.
Yeah, I don't know as far as that's
That's
concerned.
what
Yeah.
horses matter.
That's a state issue, but what we've done is we've actually created, through the support of council, because they understand the traffic issues, they get those complaints that everybody gets, I get a ton of them too. We've created a traffic team, we're actually getting ready to create 2. So they'll have full 7-day full coverage. Now what our traffic team does, we don't respond to accidents, but we do enforce the traffic laws of the state of South Carolina. So we do that, that's one thing the county police has done. Plus, we've bolstered our instruction on our regular patrol guys, but you gotta remember our regular patrol guys' main function is to respond to that call for service as you're calling it. So that's what I can attest to as far as what the county's doing, but as far as the state, I can't answer
No, I'm
those.
not talking about the state. When he
I
told
hate you
me-
been in accidents, I've been in them
When he
too.
told me there's only 2 in all of Horry County every night, and I'm waiting 2 hours for an officer to show up. A drunk driver got off because by the time the officer showed up, took some statements, then went to the hospital, person sobered up.
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's difficult. The state is a large agency with the highway patrol, and it's difficult
Yeah.
to recruit and retain and get all those folks, and they're a large agency, much larger than me. But,
No, overall, yeah.
yeah.
So
Not
Chief,
the county.
Yes, sir.
obviously we cover state politics as well. There's currently a female running for governor, named Nancy Mace.
Mhm.
She is making Horry County issues with Alan Wilson about a shooting on Camp Swamp Road. I think you laid off 3 or 4 employees, or maybe fired 3 or 4. Or,
We we separated 2 people.
well, anyway, that's one of her key campaign issues in Horry County. You've been with the firm, what, 20 years?
23 years. Yes,
So
sir.
you know who Alan Large was.
Mhm.
And before that, you know about the tobacco issue, the tobacco salesman whose wife, Doris disappeared. Are you
I'm
familiar
not
with
familiar
that?
with that. No, sir.
Okay. When situations like this happen, and these are hot political buttons, they are right now. We're growing at what, 20% annually, 24% annually?
I'd have to take your word for it, yes, sir.
Okay, so who's responsible? Where does the buck stop? Does it stop with county council? Does it stop with the chief? Where does the buck stop?
In
Or
regards-
stop with the administrator? For issues like the Scott Spivey shooting, who's the ultimate say in issues like that?
So, as you saw in the news, I became chief in October of last year. Upon getting information about the case, I requested the case to be reviewed through SLED and other agencies. That is under my purview to do that. SLED is currently reviewing a misconduct case of one of our previous officers that they're reviewing now. Everything was turned over to the SLED and the Attorney General, and the Attorney General made the decision on that case. But, I mean, I guess that's helping answer your question. I'm not sure.
Well, in this regard, you said we're stuck with a sheriff for 4 years.
Unless they do a criminal act, yes, sir.
We get to pick him though, correct?
Sure.
And if something like this happens, we get to fire him. We get to unelect
In 4
him.
years, yeah.
In 4 years. What is our recourse when things like this happen?
Absolutely, great question. So, if I'm doing something as the chief of police that you don't agree with, or I've done something immorally or something out of the way, that's why your council represents every district in this county. You can make complaints to them and it's reviewed, and then I am an employee of Horry County government. So I can be removed at any time. based upon a policy violation. If I do something criminal, or if I create a misconduct in office, I can be removed at any time. You don't have to vote me out.
Who would fire you, more or less?
Ultimately,
If you did something wrong?
Ultimately, it would be the assistant county administrator over public safety would be my direct boss, but council could make that recommendation, yes, sir.
Or how about the county administrator?
He could as well, yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of chiefs there.
There's a lot of folks that I'm accountable to, absolutely. And the people.